All right, everybody. So this time we're going to be in Spain, but we're also going to be doing a little bit of Portugal. It was a bit of a mix-up on my part, but I think it'll still work pretty well. What I'll do now is go ahead and mute everybody, and then share my screen out and give me a thumbs up as soon as you see it. All right. See if I can just mute everybody. Yeah. Okay. So we have Spain here, south of France, which typically means that we're going to be talking about warmer weather. So, kind of bigger, bolder flavors, much less muted than much of your French wine. Now, the first area that we're going to talk about in France is this little area up here, which is Rías Baixas, yeah, which is in this northwest corner of Spain. Now, it's pretty humid up there, but moderate because of that Atlantic Ocean, kind of tempering, but it also has a lot of granite soil, which makes a great place for growing crisp white wines. And so this is it, kind of close up. Now, what's really kind of known, or this area is known for, is one particular grape, and that's Albarino. Now, I know that we don't have it to drink today, but keep this area and Albarino in mind for a little bit later in the lecture. So the second place that we're going to be talking about is, actually, before we even go to that, it's a place I do want to touch on, but unless you actually go there and are drinking like jug wine, you probably won't encounter it much, which is this area right here, this Loma, because what's kind of weird is that Spain actually has for the amount of area that is set aside for wine growing, or for grape growing for wine, Spain is actually the largest of any country, but they're like the third largest in terms of wine exporting. And the reason for it is, well, they seem to drink a lot of it, but a lot of it, like half of their wine, comes from this La Mancha area. But the places that we'll be talking about more is going to be the more, let's say, famous places like Rioja. Now, La Rioja, is kind of the most well-known section of Spain for wine. And what's weird, though, is that it's also one of the coolest areas. And what you'll see here that might not show too much on the map is that there's this big set of mountain ranges. And so what that's doing is that's providing, even up in here, that's providing that rain shadow. So think of like here's the Atlantic, and as it's kind of blowing all of this, wind, humidity, everything else, that mountain range is going to kind of block that and kind of leave this area a little bit more dry. Now, and when I say cold, that's kind of relative, because even in July and August, the temps are between like 70 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. But even there, it's kind of split into three sections. So the Rioja Alta, Rioja Alavesa, and Rioja Baja. Now, each of those have slightly different climates, much the same soil, but their elevations change so that I think it's Rioja Alta. I mean, well, you have high, and it's because it's one of the highest places, and therefore cooler weather, and more kind of tight, nuanced flavors in their grapes comparatively to the rest of Rioja. Now, what makes it much like every other place that we kind of described, what makes it a perfect temperature for growing grapes is that it's got a decent amount of heat in the daytime, but the nights, because it's so dry, it gets really cold. And you want as far of a divide between your hot and cold per day to really bring out those flavors in the grapes. Now, Rioja grows two types of grapes, Tempranillo and Garnacha. The second pretty much being a direct descendant of Grenache from France, just now grown in Spain. And both of which are blended together, mostly Tempranillo, a little bit of Garnacha. And that blend is what becomes the widely popular Rioja wine. Now, Rioja wine has their own quality level system, kind of like the same as German, the Produktfund, where if it just says Rioja on it, it's probably not on the quality scale, and there's no requirements for what's in it. Now, like the one that we have, or that most of us have, is Crianza. Now, Crianza, that's the kind of like the first level of this quality system, and it must be aged for a minimum 1 year in a cask, and then 6 months in bottle before release. Now, winemakers typically use used barrels for this level, which leaves a lot of the wine much more fruit forward than the rest of the levels. Now, the two others, so next we have Reserva, and that requirement is that it must be aged for 3 years. And one of those years has to be in, I think it's new oak, which typically means that the other two are in the bottle. And the grapes, not just that the aging has to be there, but the grapes are selected from kind of premium sites and vintages. So depending on the year, if it's kind of a bad year, you might not even get a Reserva or a Gran Reserva. Now, Gran Reserva, you won't see those bottles any younger than 5 years old on the shelf. And that's because it requires at least 2 years in oak and then 3 in the bottle before it can even be sold. And it's made from only the best sites. So if you can find, Reserva or, Gran Reserva, it is definitely a treat. Now, typically wine enthusiasts will go for Reserva because it's a good medium place between your fruity Crianza and your oaky Gran Reserva. The next place that we're going to be talking about, let me show you in relation. So we were just in Rioja. Now we're going to be way over here on the east side near Barcelona. And this is when we're talking about Cava. Now, Cava, much like Champagne, is sparkling wine made from this Cava region, which includes both of those little Priorat and Penedès regions. Now, before we can really kind of talk about how Cava is, well, how can they, or how did they essentially copy Champagne? Let's talk about how Champagne is created, because Cava is mostly on the same method, but not exactly. So what's still the same is that you're still making like still wine, like flat, non-bubbly wine, and you're putting it into these large bottles and adding a little bit of yeast and sugar in it, and then capping it, and it'll sit in that bottle for a year as the rest of that yeast is starting to consume that rest of that sugar and essentially creating a lot of carbon dioxide. Now, the bottles are for French, well, actually for all of them, the bottles are put at this downward angle. Now, and I can show you that. So these are all Champagne bottles. And that downward angle is done so that all of that, the dead yeast and other just crap from the yeast, collects in the neck. And the French like to do this by hand, which takes about 8 weeks, and it's called riddling. And so those go around twisting those bottles, just kind of shifting that sediment all into that neck. Now the Spanish, being a touch more industrious, created these giant machines called gyro pallets, and they can spin 504 bottles, because they'll stack them up. I don't know if you see in here, but I mean, there's a bottle, there's a bottle, there's a bottle, there's a bottle, and so they just stack them on top of each other, and they do this slow spin to do exactly what that one guy was just doing by hand. And remember how the other one was 8 weeks in order to get it to that point of everything collecting in the neck. This machine can do the exact same thing in 8 days. So after all that junk is in that neck of that bottle, what they'll do is they'll freeze the neck at about minus 30 degrees, so that the heat or the yeast that's in there is kind of like this hardened missile. And then what they do is then they they'll keep it upside down, and they'll open it up, and because of that pressure in there, that's the first thing that comes out is this kind of all this junk. And then after that pops out, then they pour the rest of the carbonated champagne at that point into like a big cask or a big vat. And then from there, then it gets poured into new bottles, and then sugar is added. And so, well, at that, other than that riddling process, Cava is exactly the same, way, made the same way as champagne, which is why, their bottles are also just as thick, because after that, what's called disgorgement, that's what the, when the yeast, pops out and they pour, that's called disgorgement. And so after that happens, they put it into new bottles, and they again add a little bit of sugar, a little bit of yeast, and and then wire it up, and that's what creates, again, much more of that carbonation in the bottle for when you open it and pour it. Now, the other real difference between French champagne and Spanish cava is the grapes that are used. Now, French champagne must use 3 particular grape varietals, and that's Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay. Now, 2 of those grapes are actually like dark red grapes, and Chardonnay being your only white grape. Now, Cava, on the other hand, uses exclusively Spanish varietals, and those are kind of weird. They're Macabeo, Zorello, and Parellada, and all of those are white grapes. But the Spanish, red varietals can also go into it, which are Garnacha and Carignan. Well, actually, in Spain, it's called Carignana. Now, as for, so remember, well, let's actually, so remember when I was talking about Rías Baixas, which is way up here, and that Albarino? So now we're going to talk about Portugal, and specifically Vinho Verde, because we'll go into more depth on Portugal when we actually, decide to do like port and things like that. Now, do I have it up here? I don't have it up here. Hold on. I forgot a picture. Where's my picture of Portugal? Sorry. Okay. Well, actually, we'll just use this one. So let me go ahead and scroll in here. Now, as you can see, Vinho Verde, way up here on the north edge of Portugal. Now, but this river right here, the Minho River, if we look back on Rías Baixas, there's that same Minho River. Because, yeah, Vinho Verde and Rías Baixas are effectively, neighbors across a river. Now, Vinho Verde means green wine, and it's meant for both its looks and that it should be drunk green or really young. And that's why, when I was a little miffed that we didn't do Albarino, and because trying to find it at sub 20 price point is a little bit more tough. But Vinho Verde, so one of the main grapes. So there's two main grapes that are grown in this Vinho Verde region, and that's what's it called, Loreo. And so that's the first grape. But the second grape, and this is where it gets kind of interesting, is they have a plant, or they planted a grape called Alvarinho instead of Albarino. Same grape, just across the river. Now, here's the thing that was kind of interesting that I learned today about Vinho Verde is that when they fill the wine bottles, they inject a little CO2 into each bottle as kind of a preservative. Depending on how young and new your bottle is, as you're looking at the top of that bottle, you might actually see a couple of bubbles forming up there because there is that slight effervescence to it. And as you drink it, you might actually notice a little bit of like that frizzante. So I will go ahead and stop sharing, and let's move on to drinking some wine. So first up is our Vinho Verde. Yeah, if you shake it just a little bit, you'll actually be able to see quite a few of those little bubbles, kind of coming to the forefront. Yeah, I guess you'll see it when you pour into the bottle or into the glass too. Now, Vinho Verde is along, and the reason why they inject that as a preservative is because it's supposed to be a much more low alcohol wine, which alcohol is a preservative. And because this is, well, low alcohol, you kind of need something else in it to, keep the wine fresh. So on our Vinho Verde, on our site, I mean, this is clear, almost like water with like a light green tint to it.
So this is clear. This is a lot more than he's looking at. This one is. This one I did a little bit of it.
It says your record is recording.
But when I look downwards, it's a little less green, a little more yellow, but it's still super light. All right. And we'll give it a bit of a swirl. Let's check if that, this thing almost has like non-existent legs. So I'd probably put this thing pretty low. I would guess this is probably about, is that like 11%? 10%?
Less.
Ours is 9.5.
Oh, ours. Yeah.
The Blanka is 11.5.
Mine's 12.5.
Wow. Okay, so let's give it another swirl and a sniff and let's see what everyone smells on those.
We have 2 bottles, so.
All right, what's your impression?
Getting pear.
Pear. Okay.
Strong smell, really. Maybe COVID.
No, it's subtle. Citrus apple.
Wow,
Skylar's getting green apple.
so a little bit of cumin in those carrots.
And you're not.
I know.
Anyone getting like some lime, maybe a little bit of melon?
Hey.
It's smelling stuff.
I agree on the melon.
Yeah, it's like a little like honeydewish.
Oh, smoked paprika.
Okay. Well, let's give this thing our first taste of the night. So cheers.
We're 14th.
Yeah, the nose was just like, it was mostly pear, a little bit of lemon, but the taste is really strong lime.
Is really strong. What?
Lime. Like
Lime.
the nose is lemon, the taste is lime.
So different.
Yeah.
Agree, a lot of lime.
Yeah, it's kind of on almost like mouth puckery in terms of, yeah, I'm getting lime like Granny Smith apple.
I love it. It's very crisp.
And this I think of as more crisp than an Albarino. Albarinos I think of as a little bit more heavy, almost kind of oily. I mean, they're better for shellfish, but this I just love as, you know, something really crisp and clean to drink. Plus, for the most part, it's you know, not a super hot wine, so yeah, you can also drink quite a bit of it to, you know, be refreshed instead of just, you know, get plowed.
Like your yawn beer or your yawn.
I heard that expression.
No.
All right, well, let's.
This is a good porch pounder.
I like it, lawn wine.
What was that, Ryan?
This is a good porch pounder.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, we'll find a favorite winery and suggest that as what they name their new wine. All right, so I guess now we'll go ahead and try a couple of things. If anything just stands out as like, you know, some clear winners of food wine pairing, you know, definitely shout them out.
We have a garlic soup and it goes really well with that. Both of ours.
A garlic what?
Soup.
Soup?
Have we never-
Okay.
It's kind of like Spanish egg drop soup.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Huh.
Garlic soup with eggs and croutons.
Yeah,
Supposed to be.
kind of me too. Although I'm kind of curious about the cactus.
It sounds interesting.
I know.
It's gonna hair fast way.
Look at me being very, it's got blue cheese in it, so probably a red.
Okay. It's mercury retrograde.
I figured you like this just because it's a city.
If I could blame like my last week on that, I would be okay with that. Because
Absolutely entitled. That's the point.
it's stupid.
All
That's-
very-
As much as I was hoping that it would kind of go with the green of the grape leaves, it's not so good with tomates.
Oh, it's great with the
After
arugula.
conferences?
We have the arugula with the balsamic. It's great.
They're generally high acid.
Shoot. So I love this with the salad. What do you guys
I
think?
like it with salad. I think it's really good with salad.
I think we're all a little bit partial to. fruit situation.
Yeah.
I have one of those,
Now some grilled artichoke hearts. That's a good pairing.
Oh, there you go. The green, yeah.
Do you want?
I-
Okay, you said, or I can put it here.
You want to keep the place right.
No, you never.
I don't know, guys.
Well, everything's good before you put it in.
Mm.
I made those. I'm gonna make those again because these are so good. Maybe I try yours, but
I probably could have. But they're not bad. Manchego and Manchego and ham.
I feel bad. I'm so on.
Really good with the potato croquettes.
a little fried sandwich.
So I just had a bit of an apple tart, and that really made the apple come forward.
These lights are basically directly above us, so you lean forward and eat, your face gets darker.
It's really good with it, but I think it's better with the sour one.
You toss your head.
I know. I'm so
So what's everyone think of the Vino Verde?
I like it a lot.
I love
I
it.
like, we have two of
Very
them,
good.
both of them. They're very different. One's a little sweeter, one's a little more tart.
Really, they're very similar.
Just take it back.
I think they're both a really good summer porch wine.
Yeah, there. Like Kurt said, after you've mowed the lawn, just drink some of this. It's fine.
Getting a difference.
I think they're very good, very different.
Really. So what do you think about this one?
All right. So how's everyone's glasses? We about ready to move on to the second?
We are.
This
both
was
are.
more.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the next one?
So the next one's going to be our Cava.
Can we get a saber?
Yeah, we
We're
need
not
a
gonna
saber.
sorry.
Do that if you
Oh,
want.
you haven't opened yours yet.
No, we haven't.
So Richard has showed us how to use
Maybe
it.
some bubbles.
So this is the Borrasca Cava, but it's a Cava rosé, and apparently it's made with 100%. Well, it says Grenache, which that in itself kind of almost say concerns me, but the fact that they say Grenache and not Garnacha is a little weird.
Was. But, right, when I looked at it.
Thank you.
Sure. Hold on, Kurt, priorities.
Curious.
It's not the camera, it's the light.
I know.
It's not gonna help.
Yeah.
Now the other thing about for like Ray, when I was choosing yours, I was trying to make sure that I got the same type. Well, not just the rosé, but that it's brut. Because I'm not sure if who all knows the classifications of like champagne.
Triple street.
Is that it really denotes how much sugar is in it. Now for the lowest, like super bone dry, is called brut nature, like nature.
Magnet.
And then from there it's extra brut, and then brut, and then extra dry, sec, demi-sec, and doux.
Especially if I cannot take the magnet.
And each of those just progressively gets more sugar still in it, but brut is still pretty dry. But it does have a tiny amount of residual sugar in order to make it a little bit more palatable and not just super astringent on your throat.
To do some research tomorrow.
So mine is brut, but it says it's made with Trepat grapes.
Said Trepat.
Trepat. I Googled it and it's actually a thing.
Huh. I'd be curious where that, I mean, it's got to come from that Cava region. So I'd just be wondering which of the areas it comes from.
Let's see, it says is a red Catalanian wine grape
Okay.
that is grown primarily in the Conca de Barbera and Costers del Segre.
It's easy to do, but
Yeah, my Spanish is not good. I took French.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's in that Catalonia area, I mean, that is the Cava region. But I mean, yeah, as we're looking at this thing, it's like light salmon in its color. I wouldn't quite call it pink, but it's definitely on that salmon scale.
I know, but with sangria.
Or it's almost kind of, has a bit of like an orangish, like orange pink.
Same monostrail grape as this one.
Would even go with the spicy pizza.
What?
Yeah,
So this one?
The red?
yeah. This
I'm
is-
not gonna do the swirl to, because anything effervescent, you really can't
I left my plate.
tell the ABV off of the legs. So, but let's go ahead and head straight to the swirl and sniff.
I can't figure out what I smell. I want to say strawberries.
Yes, I think strawberry.
I heard strawberry.
Yeah, that's what I smell.
I'll skip over vanilla.
Yeah,
You go with that.
there's like a,
It's like a Starburst quality to it.
yeah, like candy. I don't know. It's a weird.
Okay, so not like offline.
Sugar or caramel.
And Starburst in over 3 years, so I will take your word.
Like which part of a starburst? Well, because when I think starburst, I just think that, a lot of artificial citric acid.
Maybe that's what it is then. It's
But there's,
not-
to me, there's something cloying underneath, something sweeter than strawberry. It's almost like a peach.
I was actually thinking peach, and I'm like, no, that can't be right.
Is it like mango? Or-
It kind of smells like a rotting fruit. Yeah.
So it's a tropical.
Is it like mango or pineapple or?
A little bit of pineapple.
I mean, I wasn't getting tropical. I was getting more stone fruit.
Well, so we're drinking a wine available locally, so it may not be the same as your wine.
Yeah. Does it say what particular grapes it's made from?
It's a Mercat Rosé.
That's the winery. So
Is it?
Vivino said they had a list of grapes. It was,
Well, but that's going to go. I'm because even this one on Vivino was giving the three, main white grapes for Cava,
Macabeo, Zarel,
and
Carolata, and then Monastrell.
oh, okay. So yours actually has Monastrell. Now that's an actual red grape.
And then we have a Monastrell wine here actually as well.
A red Monastrell as well.
Right here.
So how do they turn a red grape into white wine?
What they do is when they're so you have like your floor and they fill it up with grapes and then they start to press on it. The whole inside of a grape is completely clear. And so what they do is they press it just enough to split the outside and juice it a little bit. And what you get is this clear,
Maybe I don't.
like clear juice. And that's what, that's how, clear yellow white champagne is made from essentially, 2 of 3 grapes that are red. It's just that these, not only do they're either pressing them a little bit harder or after they do their final press somewhere else, they'll take those skins and let that juice kind of sit on them for a little bit just to get a little bit of the tannins.
So you slide them out, but you can get a double or triple.
So let's go ahead and give this thing a taste. Cheers.
Really good.
Huh.
There, I'm getting the stone fruit.
That's got an interesting aftertaste.
And then tropical
Mouth or the nose?
drink. The mouse.
Okay, so Skylar's getting strawberry and rose petals.
Maybe apricot. I don't know if I got more sweet than acid.
Sweet,
Mhm.
really?
Oh,
We're not
yeah.
getting sweet on that.
I'm not getting sweet. I mean,
Oh,
it's-
I am.
it's sweeter than the.
I'm getting some almost like I won't say bitter, but to me,
Yes.
I'm almost getting like grapefruit.
Yeah.
Grapefruit, but what's weird is that it's got this other part that and it's like one of my favorite confectionaries is almond. I swear I'm getting an almond off of this.
Mm.
Marzipan?
That's a new one.
Like dry roasted almond.
We have some almonds with some smoked paprika here. We should taste it. With
Huh.
It is a common note. I haven't had a reason.
That's which.
But a lot of kava, because it's done in that same traditional method, it's going to have, I want to say, live yeast to it, but there's going to be that bit of almost some kind of yeasty residual flavor. And that just depends on the place, like how long they left it in the bottle before they disgorged it, because all of that is adding this extra like yeasty, bready note to a lot of your sparkling wines. So other than, I think I heard, so we definitely have the strawberry in there. I think I heard some kind of stone fruit. I had grapefruit, almond. Anyone else have any tasty notes?
I can't place it. There's something.
Oh, and Skylar had rose petals.
I'm getting a papaya in the nose on ours.
Okay.
You're tasting kind of a chocolate.
I'm not tasting, I'm smelling. I'm not
Okay.
tasting.
I get the papaya.
I'm getting acid apricot and grapefruit.
You get like a taste of cherry.
I get the apricot for sure.
Okay. I mean, it'll be in that same kind of, red fruit category.
I think red food. is really good.
Oh, all right. Well, let's see what, I mean, this is, for the most part, this is going to be like a palate cleanser. So, I mean, yeah, if you have anything that's either drenched in like oil or shellfish or something like that, this will probably be,
Very interesting.
Croquettes.
Try it with the date.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah,
You've got two.
I ate 'em
we
all.
should remember that to get tasted.
Maybe. I did try to wrap pork for you in case you wanted to take it home.
Oh, well, don't you want this? You want to put it there?
Well, if we do not end up using it, you will go. But
You
if
did.
you.
Oh, you can get those back.
If you wrap them right away, I'm kind of late on the.
yeah,
wrap.
just kind of mix everything, at least for me, it just kind of makes everything clean.
This thing. This thing.
Whatever it is that might be mucking up your mouth, this solves it.
This thing called, Sarah?
Croquettes.
Hmm.
It's ham and manchego
What
croquette.
was the recipe called?
It actually works with a lighter cured meat too.
Juice
Oh, that's
slapper.
yours.
Oh, that was really good. That's really
It just brought, it actually brought out, those red notes, and, it's kind of like made the meat even meatier.
I need to slow down.
I have a chorizo Canton Palo in my cured meat selection, and it went really, really well with that one. That was by far my favorite with it.
Okay.
We have a ham and manchego croquette that is lovely with it.
Let me check you on potato.
I have a spicy barbecue pizza with banana peppers that goes well.
What is it?
This thing's just finding matches all over the place. So I'm definitely glad that we got the rosé, because it's and that's what I like about rosés, is that they're a touch more versatile in terms of what they can pair with.
And milk. Cornstarch.
Well, now I'm wine free.
Two.
1, 2, 3.
Well, that one doesn't count.
I'm sorry.
One's a
As long as we
pre-gamer.
don't count a bunch, we could keep this down.
How's everyone's glasses doing?
Hey, Richard, which one are we doing next?
Next will be the Rioja.
Rioja. So this?
Yes.
So for those of you playing along, we have the Valserrano Crianza 2016 Rioja.
Zero año.
Is it Rio? Is it a red?
Mhm. It looks like this. So you can pretend.
Now, for those of you with substitutes, do you have Crianza as well?
Yes.
I don't know.
Show them the.
Oh, you have Reserva. So it's-
Oh.
you went up a quality level. But yours is probably
I mean, really?
I feel like I'm on TikTok.
TikTok.
though yours is going to, comparatively to the rest of us, I would imagine yours is going to have a lot more oaky notes than we're going to.
Is that can I translate as that, you wish you were here?
I mean, Reserva is good. It's just, I'm going to guess that its price point was probably like 25.
I think, stand by.
But as you're doing that, let's go ahead and give this thing a peek.
Finish this one first.
Hurry up.
You guys are gonna get me drunk.
So it's Rioja, the region,
Rioja.
Rio.
There was that I'd be willing to try.
and it's not a varietal, it's like a one.
Yeah, Rioja is a region, so it's
that one.
typically, like most Rioja is typically mostly Tempranillo with some Garnacha, Monastrell, other things thrown in.
I wasn't planning on it being that soon.
It's not
So,
somebody-
I'm definitely getting much more of a ruby, almost like dark ruby.
Aspen date.
14.95.
It's $14.99.
Oh, okay.
15.
Value price. Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm a little bit jealous because we got a Crianza for what you got a Reserva for.
Wow.
I am not on the right one.
Okay, so let's give this thing a swirl and let's check out its legs.
The Guru Verde.
Mhm.
Those are coming down kind of thick.
My mind went somewhere else where he said, check out the legs.
That was on purpose.
Sure.
I'd probably put this at like probably
You put the Verde or-
14. Wouldn't quite put it at 15, but
So
it's
this
definitely at least 14.
Wow. That's really with this one too.
Let's see.
is not like this is
Survey
a-
says
I have another one.
14.5.
like this
Mine's
is-
a 14.5 as well.
Wonder who the second one you took.
and
Because
this
there's
is
two more
like-
here.
Just is that in itself, I don't know, maybe that's just a sign of the times that usually your old world wines are, hover around like the 12 to 13.5. So the fact that, we're seeing,
Oh, darn it.
these bigger alcohol wines from old world, I'm guessing they're trying to emulate new world in terms of that, or, you can blame it on global warming and that, the grapes ripen. And so they have a lot more sugar and more alcohol. So
Yeah, we-
yay global warming for higher booze wine.
Okay.
Well, global warming is gonna push all the California people north.
All right, let's give this thing a swirl and a sniff.
With all
See what we got on the nose. Ooh,
the idea.
that smells delicious.
fairly less
Mhm.
than- But in a trattoria, you go in and you
Goes
get
down in color.
of course meal that they're serving that day, and you don't have a choice.
I do not see that if I look at it straight on.
I like that.
That's how
I
you.
like it.
Uh-huh. So you go in and you sit down and.
All
they
right.
start
What we get on the nose?
with the pasty and then the and you just. eat
Oh,
what they
holy
have
hot
in the-
dogs, wow.
I mean, it's amazing.
I know,
right?
I took a big sip the first time. Mhm.
I didn't drink it yet.
I guess I'm
Oh, I've heard of them.
considering it's mostly Tempranillo. I'm going to guess that everyone is their main characteristic is probably cherry.
Like a red fruit, like a okay, cherry.
A little bit of two.
Yeah, I could go with the red fruit.
A third the cherries.
Anything else? Like any subtle
We have a
notes?
lot of baking spice.
Yes.
He said that he smelled earth.
And then
No.
So I'm not getting any earth on mine, but again, if you're drinking the Reserva, you know that earth could probably come from the barrels.
Maybe leather.
Like
Nope.
do that.
No Reserva.
Bar smell. Almost.
Yeah, like new car smell.
Yeah, there's definitely a baking spice, maybe even like some black pepper in there.
Of this
All
one
right.
I have.
Well, let's go ahead and give this thing a taste. So, cheers.
get out,
Salute.
get out. Come on, get out. It was in my way.
Oh, that's complex.
It's so like,
So there's a little bit kind of that it'll come through at the end. Making spices there.
Hmm. I can definitely say this thing lingers. At least the Valserrano really lingers. Like I'm still tasting it right now.
You're getting no citrus, nothing sour, right? Or if you're like, maybe, but not really.
So what's everyone getting on the palate?
A lot more of those baking spices. More than I smell, I'm tasting them a lot stronger.
Yeah, there is definitely like a cinnamon and nutmeg. Ah, yeah, Skylar, nutmeg. But also like a strong vanilla.
yeah, maybe a vanilla.
Same one.
Some people have different. Same thing. What was that last thing you said?
Vanilla.
Oh.
I mean, the main thing is kind of like fresh, somewhat underripe, red berries, but then as all of a sudden it just gets into like dessert land.
You want to try it with strawberry? I don't
Hmm.
want to. Just on my-
Seeing your baking spice.
It's amazing with your paella, and then that really brings out kind of that baking spice, like this, like if you dump the spice rack on the paella. you do that there.
Now, was there a lot of tomato in the paella as well?
No, not a lot.
Okay.
It only calls for half a cup of diced tomato, like canned diced tomatoes. I
Because
was a little surprised.
yeah, because I would have figured that. Yeah, I mean, tomato. I mean, this is almost like I would say like pizza wine. It's almost like a Chianti in terms of it being able to interact with something tomato really well, like to really bring out those like fresh red fruits.
So your carrot, it's the other thing that's crazy complicated, right?
It's very odd.
But I'm hoping that it's going to go with a lot of the red meat selections.
We have a blue cheese filled date wrapped in prosciutto, and it's really good with that.
Oh yeah, that's all sorts of complex. I mean, you got your red fruit interacting with the meat, but then those baking spices interacting with the date.
Yeah.
That is lovely.
I don't think the carrots.
With
are
which?
nice. I mean, I'm not gonna be critical during Mercury retrograde. That would be unhelpful.
I have to have this kid who foster kid. And
This might be a one or two.
like 6 different
Okay.
meds for whatever, all these things. Anyway, his meds ran out this week. And they couldn't get refills.
Ray, how's your Trader Joe's cured meat? Because I wonder if we got the same platter.
You put them in a packet,
How do
so
you go? How do you? I don't even know.
keep them on.
That looks real familiar. I think it is.
Can't function.
It's definitely going the best with the salami in that group.
I'm just aware of like, being out of control.
I don't think he
I'm
is.
not in control.
My dog did that yesterday.
He
Yep.
has TBI. Because he was beaten so bad.
Yeah.
Corey, any good pairings you're encountering?
Oh, that sucks.
We have like a chorizo that's really good with this, and also like another
If you listen, it would have been chicken baby syndrome.
prosciutto. It was a different type of prosciutto, like a more fatty prosciutto.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Which is why, because well, Spanish, you're looking for jamon, but
Hard to get.
yeah, trying to find jamon is pretty, unless you're buying like a giant leg.
I love
You
it.
forget, yeah.
But yeah, but prosciutto is a good secondary option.
And then we got like a variety of cheeses too that's actually been going really good with it, but I do not know the name of the cheese.
I'm great with this wine.
We have a Gouda.
Other children.
It's on the oily side for a Gouda, and it's working really well.
I think I was just using it for making my own chicken pizzas.
His foster
Try a little bit with this apple tart. See if I can see if all of a sudden those baking spices really come out.
sodomized by older brother.
Find the exact one I looked at before and throw it away.
And those two brothers.
So yes, so
So this is best with. the
Foster
paella.
moms,
I
two
just wanna
kids.
go there. It's best with the paella.
Oh yeah, that's the winner.
and the sodomizer.
So,
Would you eat with that?
It was this like apple tart.
She had already
The
adopted
victim.
the oldest one.
It's this like apple crumb tart with tons of baking spice in it.
This
Wow.
is the biological son. This is the brother of this one. This is the victim.
I will never find it again.
And he is.
I mean, again, it's the reason why I love Cab Franc and like some kind of spice cake, because I love when all of a sudden those baking spices are like, come to the forefront.
The Catholic school and some other, I don't even know.
so that's the paella thing is, I think it's the baking spices that really makes it.
So I found my crazy schedule, the easiest way to get groceries.
All right.
Order them from Amazon.
Not the ones I saw, but
Groceries.
Those are all ones I've seen.
So saffron threads for the paella.
I know
Maybe one of these.
How's everyone's glasses looking?
one of those
Pretty empty?
Close to empty.
Close to empty.
be helpful. I was hoping if I just.
And- Empty.
Heard saffron threads are expensive.
All right. I saw heads tilt back for that final glug. So we'll go ahead and move on to our garnacha.
It's only $7.
Pouring the San Gregorio, Gregorio, 2018 old vine.
Yeah.
I can make.
Intense.
I can have that.
Gotta go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, the reason why I picked this one last, so it's not as tannic, or at least it's not rated as tannic, but it's supposed to be a lot more bold. And I mean, just in the color, as I'm looking at this thing,
Long run.
this thing is on the border between ruby and purple.
Can't see through it at all on mine.
Yeah, it's pretty opaque.
Won't even be an option.
I know, exactly, so
Ready for that to happen right now.
we will be able to swim. This is very.
Yeah,
fun.
wow. And then let's see. So if we spin it, there is definitely some staining. So I mean, this had to have come from a bit more of a warm region, actually. I'm wondering if this came from our Man of La Mancha.
This one came from.
Something like 13.5, 14%.
Calatayud? I don't know where the hell that is.
Slow legs,
Throw it on.
What's that?
big slow legs.
Oh yeah.
Verde,
you like it a lot.
yeah.
I love
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at the staining from, that it's actually coming down kind of red, but yeah, those things are super thick.
Women should not drink alcohol.
I'd put this is definitely has to be at least 14.5.
Become pregnant.
Unless they want to become pregnant.
My glass.
15.5.
14.
Wow.
I've never seen that.
Mine's 14.5.
I've got 15.
Ours
Or
is
the San Gregorio?
Yeah, I got 15.5.
Huh. Is yours the 2018? Because I mean, let's see. Yep.
Complaining.
Mine just says 15.
Well, you watch the white.
Huh. Okay, that's weird.
Garnacha.
All right. Well,
Lechuza
let's go ahead and spin and sniff.
You guys have much more sense.
Dark and sultry.
This doesn't do it that at all.
Black fruit.
I'm not sure this will. either.
Like I'm expecting this wine to be like, singing in a jazz bar.
Like
Yeah, I'm getting black fruit too.
Okay, like limestone.
Yeah, this is like black and blueberry.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I'm getting old lady perfume.
what? What is that?
Like what, like violets and jasmine?
it's not, I don't smell red.
Yes, actually, yes.
Maybe plum's black fruit, right?
Like no berries at all, just florals.
Okay.
Oh, there's something in there that I smell.
There's something in there.
There's something in there, you guys.
Like in the neighborhood of this paper. Oh, yeah.
For protein, like,
No, Sienna's, this is the one we want with the black licorice, right?
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
Licorice one, maybe.
So beyond that, anyone getting anything other than the fruit?
film spoons up ready.
Okay.
Actually, enjoy- we have.
I am smelling some kind of like oaky, like I'm getting like some kind of vanilla on this one as well.
No.
Yeah, definitely vanilla.
Smells like dessert.
Pieces of licorice.
Like what?
Smells like dessert.
Two.
I
Yeah.
just wanna have one.
Yeah, like some kind of dark fruit syrup compote. All right. Well, let's give this thing a taste.
Licorice shopping.
Cheers.
I'm not gonna remember even an hour from now. After.
Not only is it salted licorice, it's double salt.
Why is that?
It's
Trying to see.
Denmark.
It's,
Mm.
no, I don't want it.
You know, such raisins.
Hmm.
Kids practice.
Can't believe we're out.
It's really hard to build
Yeah,
work.
it's like it smells. Like drinking black licorice with that.
It's a little bit sharper than I was expecting.
There's no aftertaste. To
Your day, sorry.
Yeah, it kind of goes away a little bit clean. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it has like a initial and mid, but it like I can't really say this has any kind of long finish to it whatsoever.
The comment from the table was the shortest roller coaster I've ever been on.
In the paella or the tilapia?
All right, so what are people getting on the palate?
Black raspberry and plum.
Anise.
Oh, anise.
Spice you do not hear very often.
Ooh.
So yeah, there is definitely. I mean, for me, I'm getting like kind of like more of that tart black and blue fruit,
Can't find it on Vinho.
but there's something in there that's like somewhere between cola and tobacco.
You can absolutely buy that again. I can get that at my store.
Oh,
I get cola, yeah.
Skylar also got pipe tobacco.
Yeah, like it's not exactly cola or tobacco. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get my food after this. That day is really good.
That's not bad. Yeah, it is definitely it is a shocking difference between this and the Rioja, but yeah, I like it. This definitely has, you're gonna need something big and bold and beefy to really kind of stand up to it.
The blue cheese stuffed date wrapped in prosciutto is pretty nice.
Okay. Now is it the blue that's coming forward? Because I mean, with this thing being
The blue cheese is, I think, what is really hitting it hard.
yeah, because I mean, with this being as just heavily tannic as it is, I would expect it to, that those tannins are going to interact with that blue and really kind of bring it to the forefront.
She's trying to tell you, Rob. You have it better than that?
All right. Let's see what we can pair this with.
There's leftovers.
Does your dog have suggestions?
Feed me. Presentation.
Oh, yeah, the croquette.
Sell by 13.
Now, Ray, I'm not sure how often you go to Trader Joe's for these events, but one of the things that is kind of my go-to for everything red,
I eat
and
that.
it still holds up now, is their steak stout pie. So if
I almost bought that today, but I didn't.
I highly recommend having like a pack of those in your freezer at all times, because yeah, it's going really well with this.
Pretty pleased with that.
I had it in my hand and ended up not getting it at the end of the day.
Any other pairing winners out there?
Anybody? Oh, we have the croquette, I guess. They like that with it.
It's a manchego, ham, and potato.
There's no potato.
There's no potato?
No,
Really? What?
How can you make a croquette without potato?
it's flour. It's flour and cornstarch and
Manchego and ham, deep fried.
and onions.
Oh, and onions?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, on that note, we have finished up the night. So everybody wave goodbye to YouTube.
Cheers.